Hi friends, welcome to the vlog. This is going to be my February reset vlog, a bookish reset vlog specifically. So over the next couple days, I need to reorganize my bookshelf. I'm looking over at it right now and it is a little bit of a disaster, so I need to do that. I'm going to be picking out my February TBR with you guys, and I'm going to use a TBR jar, which is always so much fun. And then finally, I'm going to show you a few pages in my reading journal. Moving from January into February, I'm always so grateful for that transition because February is just so much more cheerful to me than January. I always feel a little bit kind of like bleak and sad in January, and in February I can at least feel a little bit Valentine's-y and moving at least a little bit towards spring. I do have some very exciting like trips and things in March, and I just love warmer weather, so I'm always really looking forward to the spring, but I'm trying to, you know, stay in the moment and be grateful for the time that I'm in and not be wishing my life away. So I'm hoping to romanticize February with some fun plans with friends, with some fun romance novels to read, and just good books in general to read. But first we need to do a little bit of a monthly reset. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Please let me know if you guys have any specific February goals. If you're trying to romanticize February like I am, let me know if there are any specific ways that you're doing that. But yeah, let's start by reorganizing my bookshelf. Oh, you can't see it right now. The floor is full of books. It's just a pile of books because I filmed a video. It was my physical TBR reading the first sentence of all the books so that I could like make myself inspired to read them. So now they're all over the ground. I did leave these overnight, and now is the time to make sure that they're back on the shelf. I have my bookshelf organized by color right now, which I do really like, but I feel like I might as well just shake things up, and it will be nice to have my physical TBR together. My bookshelf is sectioned into these little like cubbies kind of, some of which are so small the books have to be laid on top of one another instead of standing upright, which does make organization just a little bit more tricky in terms of how I puzzle piece and Tetris the books in. And I'm not really sure, beyond having my physical TBR together, how I want to organize the rest of the books, if I want to do it by genre or if I just want to kind of put things where they look right. Maybe like a balance of color. Maybe I'll go alphabetical. Who knows? I don't really want to go by genre, although I might end up doing that just out of necessity because that is, I feel like, the easiest way to organize things. But what I found is that I have so many books of one particular genre or a couple different genres that I end up with sections really overflowing and then some sections not having like nearly enough books in them. Or I might just put the books on the shelf based on vibes and what it looks like. I'm not overly concerned with it being really organized because the shelf isn't really that big and I know my books pretty well. But yeah, let's get into experimenting with a few things on this shelf. Okay, here it is, all organized. I say organized very loosely because there wasn't a ton of rhyme or reason to the way I decided to group these books. I grouped by author when I could, but other than that, it was just pure vibes. I just kind of put things where I thought they would fit or I thought they would look nice. So it does feel very unorganized, and I think it'll take a second to get used to since I had it grouped by color before. But we've got my TBR shelf there, a mixture of different genres there, my Emily Henrys. I've got my Hunger Games and Percy Jackson in the middle. I put my Jane Austen Barnes & Noble editions stacked on the side, just separate from everything else. And then I also want to look at the top here and finally take down my Christmas decorations and switch those out for something a little bit more seasonally appropriate. I'm going to say goodbye to the Christmas birds. I do think I could probably keep the trees around a little bit longer, but I definitely need to get rid of the gingerbread television singing Christmas tree TV. I got this vase for Christmas from my friend Chloe, and I think it's so cute. I feel like even though it's Nutcracker themed, maybe I can just keep it up year round. I got these from Target recently. I'm still trying to decide whether I should return them, but I wanted to see if they would look cute on my bookshelf. They're these little heart-shaped tapered candle holders, very Valentine's-ish, but I feel like they could maybe just work year-round. A couple different colors. And then I got these rainbow tapered candles to go in there. I don't know if you've noticed, I love color. I am not a neutral kind of girl. I like for things, especially in my home, to be as like happy and bright and colorful as possible, and I think that's why I love spring so much, because it's such a colorful, happy season, especially with all of the flowers. So it being cold and dreary January right now is really not great for my soul, so I need a little bit more color inside my home since I won't be getting that outside. Cute. On top of here I have my little book nook, which I honestly would have put on the shelf, but I just forgot. I have my collection of Rifle Paper Company classics. I have these cutie tapered candles, a tree, another tree, my Jane Austens, another tapered candle, my bookmarks and fluffy fun pen. That's just my antenna for my television. And then the books. Okay, this is the setup I've decided to go with. I'm not super over the moon in love with it, but I think it works for now, and I can always reevaluate the next time I decide to reorganize my shelves. Next, I'm going to show you guys my reading journal. I love journaling. It's one of my favorite hobbies, but it's something that I've really had to try to let go of perfectionism in order to enjoy it. I think especially comparing my own journal to other people's on the internet. It's like people make their reading journals, their bullet journals, their regular journals look so beautiful. And it's so nice like for my own inspiration, but rather than being inspired a lot of times, I think I more feel jealous and inadequate that I can't make my journal look that nice. But at the end of the day, even though I will show you guys my journal and like what I've done so far in my reading journal, it is just for me and just for my memories. I love looking back on old journals. In the past, I've done journals where I've combined the books and movies and TV shows that I'm watching with like what's going on in my everyday life, kind of just back and forth. But this year I decided to separate them out. So I have one journal where I'm just kind of like pouring my heart out and writing about what happens to me on exciting days. And then I have my reading/watching journal. Let's get into this journal. I was really excited to find this cover at my local stationery store because I thought that the books were very on theme. And then turning to the first page, I have what is going to be my 2025 wrapped page. Now here you'll get what I mean about not giving into perfectionism, because it really bugged me that some of the ink bled in the title. I think it looks ugly, but I'm just gonna roll with it and stick with it so that I don't have to do it all over again, because really it doesn't matter if it's a little bit ugly. But here at the end of the year, I'm planning to record how many books I read, how many were physical ebooks or audiobooks, what month was my most read month or my least read month, how many library books versus owned books I read, and then an average rating for the overall year. And then you can see on the right hand side, I'm going to be doing the same for every month throughout the year. So I haven't filled in January yet because I still have a few days till the month is over, but I'm hoping that these statistics will be interesting to look back on at the end of the year. Then I did my best of 2024 list, just kind of a reflection on my favorite books of last year. I have a video going through my favorite books of 2024 as well if you're interested in that, but I wanted to include it in this journal with just a few short lines about why I enjoyed the book so much. I think that in my favorites of the year video, I only included a top 11, but in my journal, I included my number 12 book as well, because upon reflection, I realized how much I really loved Phantasma and how much it stuck with me because I related a lot to the character in that book. But I have 12 through 7 on this spread, and then 6 through 1. I printed the book covers on sticker paper, and then I was able to just cut them out and paste them in. And then on this next spread, I have my physical TBR, and I'm going to be coloring in the books on this page depending on what star rating I give it when I eventually hopefully read these books. But I also included a color in case I decide to DNF or unhaul them. I had really wanted to do a bookshelf tracker page, but was very intimidated by the idea of having to draw the bookshelf and having to draw all the individual little books. So instead I found a free coloring page online of a bookshelf, and I just printed it off, and I was able to write in my physical TBR book titles in it so that then I didn't have to go through all of the work of drawing out the bookshelf. And I'm really glad that I did that because I could see myself getting really disheartened by having to go through the process of drawing it out. And then on this next page, I'm doing a book bingo for the year. So they're just a bunch of little like goals that I can do throughout 2025, like reading on a beach, reading at a coffee shop, reading in a different country, visiting a new library or bookstore, reading different genres that I don't read very often, like sci-fi or mystery or horror, and then just a couple more ideas that I thought might be fun. And then on this last page I'm going to show you is my January tracker, I guess you could call it. This spread is where I'm just going to dump all of the movies that I watched, all the books that I read, the TV shows that I watched, and the podcasts I listened to, because I think it will be fun to look back on in the future what things I specifically was consuming in this month. I know that my reading journal is definitely not perfect and not the prettiest I have ever seen. I really tried to incorporate a sort of scrapbooky style to this journal so that I didn't have to worry too too much about making the lettering look really nice or drawing a lot, because that's really time consuming and I don't have that much time to dedicate to journaling. But it's been a really fun hobby to fill it out so far, and I'm excited to continue it and hopefully keep up with it throughout the year. Today we're going to be picking out my February TBR using a TBR jar, or rather a TBR Snoopy mug, and instead of TBR prompts I'm going to be using these paint swatch colors. I picked these up from my local paint store and I'm going to pick one at random, and then whichever color I choose has to match a book cover that I read for the month. I've done this a couple times on my channel and I always have a lot of fun with it, and I particularly like the flexibility that it offers because I can pick multiple books for one color and then kind of choose what I'm in the mood to read rather than being shackled to a very strict TBR. Now, in terms of what books I'm choosing from, behind me I have some of my unread books on this side of the shelf, my unread owned books, and then beside me, you can't really see, it's not in frame, but beside me I have my recent library loans. And then finally I have some very highly anticipated new releases that are coming out in February that I've already pre-saved on my Spotify for the audiobooks. So with that being said, I'm going to shuffle up these paint swatch colors and hopefully I'll pick a good one. Persimmon. This color I think matches pretty well with at least the bottom part of this book, Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is actually my current read. I'm on page 160, and it's not one that I'm confident I'll be able to finish in February, but it's definitely one that I would have been continuing to read anyway. This is a fantasy epic which follows many different characters, but it's one that's been on my TBR for a very long time, and I'm very proud of myself for finally getting around to it and at least attempting to read it. I was very enthralled by like the first 100 pages, and now it's hitting just a little bit of a lull. I'm getting a little bit more bored. I just need to be patient through it, but if anyone has words of encouragement as I continue to read this book, I would appreciate it. Okay, next color. Jacaranda. This is a blue color that kind of matches my shirt. It's also a pretty good match for this book, The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. This book follows our main character, Rosie, who has to move out of her apartment when her ceiling literally crumbles in on her. So she moves in with a friend, or rather with the cousin of her best friend. His name is Lucas, and Rosie and Lucas, obviously through living together and spending so much time together, are going to fall in love. This is also aided by the fact that Rosie is a romance writer who is dealing with some recent writer's block, and Lucas agrees to take her on some fake dates to help her become inspired to write romance again, and I'm sure that those will make for some very cute scenes. So this is one that I'm definitely looking forward to. I have tried reading this book in the past, although on audio rather than in the physical format, and I just didn't really enjoy the narrator, so I'm hoping I'll have better luck with the physical copy. I also think that this blue is a really good match for the typography on Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. This is a literary fiction following 4 sisters, or rather 3 sisters because one of the sisters passes away. I love a family drama, especially one that spans many years, which I think that this will, and I especially love a story about sisters. So I just know, especially considering some of the beautiful writing and quotes that I've seen from this book, that I will love it. And I'm actually so sure that I'm going to love it that I'm almost nervous to read it, lest it not live up to my very, maybe too high expectations. Next color is Lucky Green. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with this one. This is one of my library loans, The X Vows. Now, Jessica Joyce is not an author that I have enjoyed in the past. I actually really disliked You with the View, but I've heard enough really good things about this book in particular, both just on the internet generally and specifically in my YouTube comments, that I want to give it a shot. This book follows Georgia and Eli, who are both in the wedding party of a mutual friend, and it seems like some of the wedding planning goes awry, and there are some disasters that Eli and Georgia have to help solve, and I don't really know what happened to split them up, but now they're having, you know, their second chance at love when they're forced to work together again. Now again, I'm hesitant about this. I'm hoping that I like it, but my expectations are low considering I haven't loved another book by this author, but I do think it's worth giving a second chance, much like these characters will give one another a second chance, I'm sure. Okay, we've had 3 colors so far. Let's see what our 4th choice will be. Emotional. Okay, so we have another orange kind of color. This has been very lucky that my colors have been lining up with a lot of my library loans, or maybe it's just the fact that I have been checking out too many books from the library lately. But this is Cue the Sun, The Invention of Reality TV. This is a non-fiction book about the history of reality TV and the way in which it has been shaped by society and is shaping society. It covers early reality things like radio shows and game shows and prank shows, as well as a shift into a modern era of reality TV with things like Survivor and The Bachelor, and I enjoy that kind of thing so much, and so I just know that this book is going to fascinate me. Okay, let's do, I don't know, maybe one or two more. That was 4 colors so far, so this will be our next one. Another blue. Oh, you know what? This is actually the perfect blue to match the typography on one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. We follow a competitive swimmer and a competitive diver who fall for one another. Their hearts tread into dangerous waters, I think the description says. As it seems, they strike up a friends with benefits sort of arrangement leading up to the Olympics. I really enjoy Ali Hazelwood. In the past 2 years, her books have made it onto my best of the year lists, and she's just an author that I'm always excited to see what new things she's going to come out with. I already have this audiobook pre-saved on Spotify, so I will be listening to it as soon as it becomes available. This will be my last color for the month. Berry Cream. Okay, I actually do have another library book checked out that fits this really well. I promise I'm not doing this on purpose. This is Play Along by Liz Tomford. This is a part of her Windy City series, which I've been reading out of order. I don't really mind reading this kind of series out of order, but I've only read the second book so far, The Right Move, and this is the 4th book, Play Along, in which we follow our characters Isaiah and Kennedy. Isaiah is the shortstop for a Major League Baseball team, and Kennedy is an athletic trainer on the team. And after a drunken night in Vegas together, they find themselves married, and Kennedy's job is put at risk because players and the employees are not supposed to have casual relationships. But upon hearing that it's casual relationships that are outlawed, Isaiah and Kennedy decide to pretend that this marriage has been planned for a really long time and that it's not just a casual relationship, they are committed and married. So it's like fake dating, but like ramped up a notch because it's fake marriage. And on top of that, Isaiah has been in love with Kennedy for years, and so he's using this as sort of an opportunity to prove himself to her and prove to her that they should just stay together. I really enjoyed the one other book I read by this author, so I'm definitely excited about this one. Okay, going through all the TBR one more time. We have Hakaranda, this blue color, for which I'm either going to read The American Roommate Experiment or Blue Sisters. Surfin', another blue, for which I'm going to read Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Emotional, an orange, for which I'll be reading Cue the Sun, The Invention of Reality TV. That title, even of that card, is very fitting, I think, for this book. For Lucky Green, I'm going to be reading The X Vows, which is on the color both of her dress and the spine. For Persimmon, I'm going to continue reading The Way of Kings, and for Berry Cream, I'll be reading Play Along. So these are the books that I'm hoping to be reading this month. I'll definitely finish at least a few, if not all of them. But thank you so much for watching this video and hanging out with me and helping me pick my TBR. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell to be notified of the next time I post. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.